Welcome to this Axis and Allies 1914 video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Italy's first turn. This is the 7th in a series of 8 videos in which we've looked at each country's initial startup and looked at possible strategies they might pursue, troop movements, unit purchases, things of that nature. This is the 7th in a series of 8 videos. We've looked at Austria-Hungary, the Russian Empire, the German Empire, France, England, and our last video was on the Ottoman Empire. So today we're going to look at Italy. Now Italy starts with 14 IPCs, which is the lowest of all of the starting countries. So on our first turn, we aren't really in a position to go off on some grand campaign. We're mainly going to be looking at where we can be the most helpful in supplementing other allied forces. Now you may remember that the Central Powers have been pursuing a Russia-first strategy, trying to knock them out as quickly as possible, whereas the Allies are pursuing an Ottoman-first strategy. And you may remember from our last video that the Ottomans were in pretty dire straits even at the beginning of their first turn because of all the pressure that had been put on them. Now, when it comes to Italy itself and Italy's current condition, Tuscany was taken by the Austrians on their turn, and Venice is contested. Now, the fact that Venice is contested isn't the end of the world for us. Sure, we would rather have it than have it contested, but it's not really a huge problem, because the Austrians are tied up there. But if they manage to capture it, that opens the door to Piedmont and to Tuscany, which is going to put us in economic collapse, because we're using tournament rules and every country can suffer economic collapse. So we want to make sure that they don't make it out of Venice. Yes, there are a few French troops in Piedmont, but we know, because we've conferred with our allies, that those troops are earmarked for the Ottomans. Austria doesn't know that, which is fine, but we know that we can't count on them to help reinforce us. So we need to make sure that Austria does not capture Venice outright. So first, though, just really quick, unit purchases. 14 production. We don't have the luxury of buying a fighter, and we really don't have a ton of artillery to really make the most use of it. So we're not going to buy a fighter. Instead, we're going to buy 2 artillery and 2 infantry. That's the most land units that we could get in any combination. We're really going to need them, and it spends all of our money, so we're using it to maximum effect. Now, we need to make sure that Venice stays contested. We don't need to worry about taking it, we just need to keep the Austrians pinned down. So we're going to move our Piedmont forces over there. And in fact, we're not going to attack, we're just reinforcing. Austria has an advantage on defense, just simply because of how units work on offense and defense in this game. So attacking is not really in our best interest. But we will be stronger on defense than we are on offense right now. So if the Austrians want to attack on their turn, by all means. But we want to do what we can to weaken what reinforcements they might send in if they do want to attack and turn, help their forces turn the tide on their next turn. So we're going to meddle with this army in Trieste. We're going to move our entire Albanian force, which was made possible by that French landing. Now maybe we'll kill both infantry in Trieste, and maybe we won't, but if we don't, we're still contesting it, which means that the Austrians will not be able to threaten Tuscany, or really our coastline at all. Maybe they can land in Venice, but with all of our artillery there, that really would not serve them too well. So we're going to go ahead and do that to protect our coastline. Then we're going to move our entire Roman force north to Tuscany. That should all but assure that we take it. In fact, I'd be incredibly surprised. I've not run the numbers on it, but it's got to be like a 95% chance of success. And since we know our coastline is secure, we know we'll be able to move that infantry from Naples north. We can't move him to Tuscany because it was not contested at the beginning of our turn. So even with tournament rules, we couldn't bring him into that fight, but that's fine. So our coastline should be secure, shouldn't have any kind of a problem there. Now let's talk about this navy. the Ottomans have a cruiser in Sea Zone 20. If we don't take that out, the French will not get 2 coastal bombardments on their turn because they'll have to take it out. So we know absolutely we're going to be sending this fleet up here. And we most assuredly will take it, even if somehow that mine hits 100% and hits both of our ships, will still be a 4 against a 3. So we should still win no matter what happens with that mine. The likelihood is that it'll miss both times because it's only got a 1 in 6 chance. So there's a 1/3 chance it'll hit something, which is still less than half. So we will be able to destroy that cruiser. And the French will be able to move in with impunity, get both coastal bombardments. Yes, they'll have to deal with sea mines, but again, statistically, they have 5 ships, 1 in 6 chance. Something might get hit. They're probably not going to lose more than 1. Now, what about this transport, though? So we have a few options. We could load up those troops, move it with the fleet, drop them off in Mesopotamia, but the British really have this front under control, and they're going to be continuing to build units in India and moving across. So of all of the Ottoman fronts right now, this is the most secure. This is where they're needed the least. We can't drop off in Sevastopol or Romania because the transport will be in a battle group that engages in combat in Sea Zone 20, so its movement would be stopped there. It would not be able to move through that territory. So we can leave it in the Mediterranean if we want to. We know that the French fleet is going to move out on its next turn, also over to Sea Zone 20. So there's no amazingly great place to put that transport. What I would recommend, simply because we know we're going to move these troops forward, is at the very least maybe move the transport over here so we can use it later if we need to. I mean, you could also argue, let's put it here so we can get more of the coastline, and that'd be fine. I don't think we're really going to need it over here again because of this front. So I would probably move it over there. And then we don't have to worry about sea mines or anything like that. We can quickly get these troops back to Italy if we need to. But on the other hand, just something to consider is that this Austrian navy really doesn't have anything else to do right now. And so if it sees a lone transport and Austria decides, well, I don't need to worry about my coastline, they might choose to venture out and destroy it. So because of that reason, and only that reason, I would recommend either moving it here to protect it. Now it can still be attacked by the Austrians, but it at least has a a cruiser to protect it. A better move probably would be to just go up here, and then we can still move here, pick them up, and move over here, and it's extremely unlikely. In fact, especially because the French are going to have their fleet there, the Austrians, it would be foolish for them to venture all that way. So that's the safest place for our transport for now, and then when we need it, we'll move it more into combat. Now you'll notice, or for amphibious assaults, now you notice that I moved our Libyan forces here and not here. That's because the Germans have 2 infantry down here they might do something with. We're going to move that infantry over here, so if they decide to go for British East Africa, we actually have a slight advantage on defense. If they decide to take the easy production Anglo-Egypt Sudan, we will crush them in between. And so more than likely, they are going to remain down south, and they're not going to be able to get up here to help the Ottomans, or start getting territories that are worth 2 production, like Egypt. They're going to be stuck running around down here where the British forces already are, where we've got a couple infantry, and that's where we want them. We don't want them branching out. We want to keep them where they can have the minimal effect. Speaking of the German forces. So we're just going to move those land forces there, Somaliland over to help the British, destroy that Ottoman cruiser for the French, protect our coastline and minimize the impact of the Austro-Hungarian fleet by attacking Trieste, bog the Austrians down in Venice, and take Tuscany. We've moved pretty much every unit that we possibly could move to excellent effect. Like I said, that placement of that transport is the only thing. We don't really need it where we moved it, but considering where it might be, or what the Austrians might do if we leave it undefended, I think that's as good of a place as any. Yes, we could have left it in 19, or we could have left it a little bit further south, and technically the Austrians would go, then the French would go, then we could move it out again before our next turn. But that's really a minor detail, probably not really something to get hung up on. That's something that you should use your discretion on. Of all of these moves, that's probably the least consequential. Though whatever you do, you want to make sure that you have it somewhere that is in a position that within a turn it could pick up troops and land them somewhere. Who knows where they're going to be needed, but you don't want to lose that transport, and you want to make sure that it's a move, at least one move, or no more than one move away from picking up troops, so that it can use a second move to drop them off. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, give it a little like, I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, recommendations, strategies that you'd like to see, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see what I can do to simulate those. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to posting the next one.